We're continuing the conversation about winterizing your car. Now, a lot of things that we've talked about are things you can do annually to make sure that your car is safe for the road, but what we're talking about today are things you should be doing all year round that are even more important when the weather gets a little bit colder. We're here, of course, with our auto tip expert, Bob Gugino, and today we're talking about checking your fluids. Now, Bob, my first question for you is why should we be checking these weekly, and why people shouldn't wait maybe until that little light pops up on their dashboard?
You know, it's a good idea to get a good handle on where your fluids are, your oil, your antifreeze, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, that kind of thing. You don't want to wait until the warning lights come out on the dashboard because sometimes it's just too late.
All right, so now that we know what we should be checking, what we should be putting back in, if it's low or any of that kind of stuff, let's map it out. Let's go one by one and you can kind of tell us where the part is and how we should be checking it. What's first?
Okay, first we'll go with the engine oil. Now if you look, usually right here somewhere in the middle of the oil, and you can see in this car right here, the yellow dipstick is the engine oil. We pull that out and we're going to check it to make sure it's full. There's little lines on the dipstick that will tell us where the level is and if we need to add any or not. And then of course where we go to put it in is going to be in another spot. Generally they're marked like this car is, where it tells you engine oil and where to put the engine oil.
But traditionally oil is something that people go to a mechanic to have fixed because there's stuff with its color and you have to drain it. That's a little bit more of a process than some of these.
Well, it is, but as a good maintenance, as a good vehicle maintenance and a driver that really wants to make sure that their car is going to work and perform the best, is to do your own maintenance sometimes by just checking these things and to make sure everything's up to speed.
All right, what's after oil?
After oil, we can do transmission fluid. And the same kind of thing. With transmission fluid, you have to have the vehicle running. So you want to do that, you start it up, let it run for a minute or two, and then of course go ahead. There's a dipstick usually on the side of the car, usually it's red. Pull that out and check that, and of course that'll be marked as well as where the level needs to be.
All right, so after transmission fluid, what else should we think about checking?
Coolant. That's the other important thing too, to make sure, especially in the wintertime, we need to have the coolant up, and of course it needs to be at the proper freeze protection. But for you at home, just to make sure that it is at the right level, most cars have a coolant bottle, a plastic one that you can see through, and you'll be able to see where the level is on that, and you need to add a little bit to it. Of course, the owner's manual will tell you what type of fluid to use.
So all of these seem very simple. You're just kind of opening it up. There's going to be a marking that's already there, and you're just making sure the fluid in it is right at that mark where it needs to be.
Yeah, pretty much. And what's really important is just be familiar with your car. You know where these things are. You know how to put them in. You know what kind of oil. So this way, if the need arises, you can do it, and you're not fumbling for it. You know just what to do.
All right, so we have transmission fluid, we have oil, we have coolant. Is there anything else that you recommend people check on a regular basis?
Okay, brake fluid, of course, all the fluids in the car. Those are the things that you can do easily underneath the hood. Some of the other fluids are a little more difficult, maybe differential fluid, or if you have a four-wheel drive, maybe transfer case, stuff like that. That you're going to need to get on a lift or have somebody with an automotive repair shop do that.
And I just want to reiterate what you said at the beginning of the interview. Oftentimes when you wait till that light comes on that dashboard, that means the damage could have already been done.
Usually.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, making something super simple, very easy.
That's my job, thanks.